Hello, and welcome to Walking the Earth podcast, the podcast about the travel lifestyle. My name is Justin Castle, and I'm calling in from New York City, New York.
And I'm Mike Margulies calling in from Chiang Mai, Thailand.
What up? And
Uh,
today, and all days, we have a special offer. Isn't that right, Mike?
that's right. Free audiobook at audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. I think you just got yourself a audiobook trial, Castle.
That is correct, Mr. Michael. I signed up and went through the process. It's pretty painless. If you already have a Amazon login, all you have to do is just go to our extension audibletrial.com/WTE podcast, and it'll link it to your Amazon, and you get a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And I downloaded and I'm listening to Dune. And
Dune, what's this one?
Dune is like this epic, like sci-fi fantasy book that's, I think it's like 50 years old. My friend told me to listen to it, and I click on the thing and it's valued at $50. So I got a free $50 audiobook through the trial. So it's like pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And they have like full actors and they have like a full cast and everything. It's amazing. But anyway, go check it out. Give it a shot. Don't forget to shout out to us on iTunes, your reviews. We love you. Please tell us how much you love us. We greatly appreciate it. And Mr. Michael, I'll hand it off to you now.
Yeah, and get yourselves a free audiobook at audibletrial.com/WTE podcast, like Mr. Castle. And our guest today is also in New York. We have Jessie Festa calling in. How are you doing, Jessie?
Hey, I'm good.
Awesome. So Jessie is actually has a couple of sites. You're basically full-time making money online, so you're completely location independent, although I guess not quite what we call a digital nomad because you're kind of settled in New York with the boyfriend.
In Brooklyn. Yep.
In Brooklyn. But your two sites, you've got a couple of them. You've got Epicure and Culture, which is, you kind of call it more like an online magazine
Yes.
focused on things like...
online magazine, yep.
Oh, awesome. And you're the editor of this. It's about like wine tasting around the world, which is awesome. And then you have your personal blog, jessieonajourney.com.
Yep.
And so you have managed to successfully become completely location independent just through your websites, basically, which I think is great. It's something I know I'm personally kind of striving to get to that point, right, where I have location independent income that I can kind of manage from anywhere. That's kind of like the dream, right, for the travel lifestyle. So actually, I'd like to hear about that aspect, like the journey for you getting to a point where, you had all your income able to run from a computer from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Sure. So I went to college and I was studying to be, I think, PR or something. Mm-hmm. I even got my master's, but during college I had been backpacking all the time, traveling all the time. And once I graduated my master's, I was getting a lot of pressure from everyone to get a real job, meaning a 9-to-5 in an office. Mm. And, that meant that I would only get 2 weeks vacation a year, which I wasn't too thrilled about. So I went on a few interviews just to appease my parents, but I was waitressing at the time, which was perfect because my boss would let me take off all the time. Mm-hmm. But I was lucky enough that, during this whole search, I never even knew what a travel blog was, and then I saw one, and I was like, oh, I can definitely do this. I travel enough. And, I started doing that until I started making enough money to quit waitressing. But the thing that helped me the most was right off the bat, I got a freelance, like a full-time freelance job, I guess you'd call it. Like I was making enough money to live on each month through this website called Gadling.
What is Gadling?
What is that? Yeah.
It's still around. It's owned by Skift now, but at the time it was owned by Huffington Post, and it's huge. Or it was at the time. I don't know how it's doing now, but it was huge, and it just brought so much traffic to my own website. And I only had I only had Jessie on a Journey at the time, and it just really helped me. I had only been blogging for maybe like not even 6 months at that point, so I just really got lucky. And I didn't work. I worked there for about a year and a half, and then I, at that time, had gained enough momentum. I had been freelancing enough that I could still sustain myself without it. So.
Wow.
So you were doing kind of like freelance writing to start with.
Yeah, and I still do. I still freelance. I mean, a lot of bloggers who make full-time income on their blog are doing other things. Like I do tours. I do food tours because Epicurean culture is about food and responsible tourism and wine. So I do food tours that I create in New York City. I'm also a photographer, so I sell my travel photography.
So you've got several different sources.
Yeah.
I teach a class on blogging with writers.com. I do private consulting about blogging. So it's there's a ton of avenues along with different influencer programs and ads on the site and
That's wild.
things like that.
I saw some of your posters. Those are your own photos, like the pigs photo. Was that your?
Oh, with the quote on it?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I literally just made that yesterday. But yeah, I made that.
Hey, go check out her pigs. She's got these three.
That's my best-selling photo, though. I mean, I made it yesterday to have a quote on it, but the pig photo is like, I've sold that photo so many times.
Oh wow.
People love it. Yeah.
Can like anybody buys it, like websites and people and.
A lot of people buy it like for their house. I've had, but I actually had a guy once who was writing a book about pigs, like randomly, not about travel, and he bought like a bunch of my pig photos.
That's so cool. Like, I'm curious.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, do you just post them through your site and then people track you down through your site, or you post them through multiple different forums?
Etsy is like one of the main spots, and then Society 6 I do some stuff with, but a lot of people will find my blog, like a lot of, even for example, I ate at a restaurant last month and I took a lot of good photos, and the restaurant contacted me. They really needed high-res images right away, so they ended up buying like over $1,000 worth of photos for me, just finding the blog post.
That is incredible. Wow. I didn't know, I never thought that there'd be a source of regular income for people. It's
like, I feel I'm starting to realize, because I never used to do this, I go on a lot of trips and I take all these photos and then I just put them in my own private folders, but I should be following up with every restaurant every single time I take photos and asking, and I'd probably get even more instead of just getting random people finding it. But this is stuff you learn along the way.
Right. I mean, that's a great idea for anybody who's because there's so many people that are taking up photography. I see it all the time. I see classes. If for our New York City people, like Living Social has classes. Like all these different time out.
Course Horse is a good one too.
Course Horse. And Mike, I mean, you're traveling full time. I'm sure you have you have thousands of photographs.
Yeah, I do have a lot of pictures, although a lot of mine are just like, me making goofy faces with random friends I've made. I don't have like a lot of great, landscapes or professionally done pictures.
Yeah, it takes a long time like editing it too, and it's
Right.
And then some of them nobody buys, so it's like, I spent so much time editing this photo and nobody wants it.
I think that's a thing too. I mean, there is the idea that like, I can. It's so easy, right? I just take pictures, or I can just write a thing and I can make money. But I think there's a little bit more to it than that, right? And you could probably speak to this, Jesse, right? From my angle, when I talk to people who are making money online, whether it's from photography or writing or any of these things, it's not quite as simple as just I can just write it and someone's going to get it. Like, it takes energy and time to build up your brand, right? And
even Etsy, it's like having Etsy is that's like running a blog. You don't just set up an Etsy shop and then you have 1 million people buying your stuff. It's like you really need to promote that.
Okay.
Right.
And Etsy.
You go ahead, man.
I just want to clarify what that is. It's Etsy, ETSY?
Yep, .com. It's like pretty much an artisan marketplace. A lot of handmade things. I think everything might be handmade, actually. Just kind of
like
small
crafts and that kind of things.
Yeah.
It's like a marketplace. I haven't been into that much, but it's like a marketplace for crafts and stuff, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like handmade, people who make small batch items that are really, everything on there pretty much is really, really well made, really nice, and nothing you find at Walmart or anything like that.
I get the impression it's kind of like with all these sort of things, whether you're selling crafts on Etsy or photos or articles and these kind of things, it's sort of like it takes a lot of energy in the beginning in particular, right?
yeah.
Where you have to like just build it up. And then hopefully it gets to a point, maybe you're there now, where once you got a few things rolling, then it can kind of like, it keeps rolling on its own at that point. But it's just like that beginning phase, which is like that startup, that startup energy that's required is like the biggest hump to get over. Yeah. And so,
but like, I mean, even now, some things I'm like, oh, this will be like, I'll think something will work out. Like there's, you know, some projects work out really well, and then others, I'm like, oh, I thought that would have gone better, or, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think I don't know. It's still hard.
But just to give perspective, you know, again, you're paying for your own life. You're paying for your travels, and you told us, I don't know if you've told everybody on the podcast, but you travel somewhere every month. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sometimes I do both. I do some trips are sponsored through my blog, and then others, like I'm going to Colombia next month for a couple weeks with another blogger, of Seattle's Travels. And that's, you know, we're just backpacking around on our own, and then I'll just blog about it afterwards and see what comes of that.
That's cool.
I think it's sweet what you're doing, because you've got yourself, like, you've got a base in New York, you've got your boyfriend and your place, and you've got a life there, but then you're still like on the regular taking trips out.
Yeah.
And you have set yourself up in a way that you can do that. And I guess, when you're traveling, you're also still like, I'm assuming you're doing work as well, like from your,
yeah.
Yeah.
I usually wake up really early. I think because you're saying, how do you wake up so early every morning? I think I just got in the habit, because when I travel, I have to wake up early to get like, you know, blog stuff done, and then I want to have a full day to do stuff. And
so this makes me think of another question then. So is there a trap to having yourself set up with all this great location-independent income? You can travel, awesome stuff from someone like me. I think it's amazing and kind of something I want to do. But is there a trap in that? Do you ever get to take a real vacation? Or is it always like you're always at work no matter where you go?
You're always at work, but sometimes, like my boyfriend and I just went to Southern California last week, and and this may sound like a lot, I only did maybe like 45 minutes to an hour of work each morning, and that was it.
Right.
Which to me is like I do usually on a trip I do a lot more. So that was just maintaining emails and stuff like that.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, some days I didn't even do that much. So.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I worry about that's one thing I worry about in getting myself set up with, you know, online businesses and location independent income, all these nice things. Like I worry that am I gonna always be stuck then, always working? Is there gonna be a separation? I'll always have my laptop.
Well, you could pre-plan it. That's what I do. It's like certain trips.
True.
Like if my boyfriend only gets 2 weeks off a year, so when we travel, it's like.
So I guess you're
still
doesn't
want me working. Yeah.
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 Gotcha.
So
you unplug completely when you go with him on a vacation somewhere?
I try to as much as possible. I won't like sit there with my computer, but maybe I'll jump on Twitter and just check for like a minute.
Gotcha.
Right.
Not completely, but not a lot at all.
I gotcha.
Right.
Well, it's your job is to travel, kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Now that's your thing, which is pretty awesome. Like I would love to just get paid to go to Colombia for, you know, a couple weeks or a month or something, and then come back and blog about, like, write about my experience. Like that sounds like an awesome job to me.
It's like ingrained in me. I have to, even if I'm not on assignment for someone, I'm just like, I have to take notes because I might want to know, like, remember this later, or you know.
Isn't that like the writer/journalist life, though? You know, everything's inspiration, so you need to you have to catalog it all, right? And
I'm very like into details, like describing places, so I'll be like, you know, writing down the color of the walls and like just any little details, like, oh, those lamps are bare bulb, and like just any details that I can.
And it's of course it's part of your job to try the wine wherever you go. Also, of course.
And as much of the menu as possible.
Yes. So that's a nice job to have too. Hey,
I do a lot of food and wine stuff, so it's nice. We eat a lot.
Definitely a benefit.
Yeah. Go ahead, man.
So you actually got started, you know, just after college with traveling, and the thing is, you went for an extended travel, and then eventually came into this lifestyle. Is that correct?
Yeah. I was always doing backpacking trips. I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island though. So Brooklyn was always like a place I hung out, and I always wanted to live here.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I've lived here for about a year and a half. And since I've moved here, I think it's also, I mean, aside from the fact that I have a boyfriend, it's also the fact that like I'm paying so much rent, and
Right.
like, I mean, I do Airbnb and stuff, so it's actually not so bad, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah, sorry,
I've
you were
definitely
mentioning
calmed
to us
down with the
you,
long term.
Yeah.
you Airbnb is that just when you're like traveling, or you have other properties like in the area that you rent out on Airbnb?
No, it's just like I have an Airbnb person in the other room right now.
Oh, so you
yeah.
have multiple rooms in your place.
I just
and
have
you
a
rent out some
spare
other
room.
rooms
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so
My last
so
roommate
Airbnb,
threatened
is
to
that-
kill me, so not Airbnb, like my real roommate, and then after that I vowed to never have a Craigslist roommate ever again.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
Airbnb so far has treated me much better.
That's
Really?
great.
Yeah, I used to, when I was living in Houston, the place that I'm currently, trying to rent out, it's vacant right now, but when I was living there, I used to find roommates on Craigslist. That works out for me, but I wonder now if I could go back, like, maybe
Did you live with them, or?
Yeah, I lived with them. It worked out, I know, in my case, it worked out fine.
My first one was fine. I lived with a girl for a year that I met. It wasn't Craigslist, but it was a similar thing called Janelle's List. That was fine. I mean, we didn't live amazingly together, but there was no like death threats, so that was good.
Oh my god.
But you had a bad experience recently.
Oh yeah, I had to call all the cops.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
jeez.
That is scary.
Yeah, and then I had to call my boyfriend to like move him out.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
Well, that's pretty,
I can understand why you'd want to not go that route anymore.
I never had
Well,
I never had quite that bad of an experience, but I definitely had some bad experiences on Craigslist. I must
It's
Well,
say.
New York City is funny though, because like I just went to a bunch of the female travel bloggers in New York City. We do a monthly brunch, and there were like 10 of us at the last one, and we actually did a poll of who's called 911 on the roommate before, and half of us did. So
Wow.
it's not that uncommon.
Wow.
Wow. So this is a New York thing.
I
I think there's just a lot of weird people here.
yeah, that's, you know what? I saw a friend, I stayed with a friend of a friend when I was looking for places, a friend of a friend's, just like for a night, and like definitely some psychotic tendencies of his roommate, like had a cat and just some, weird sexual tension. Like he was a guy, she was a girl. I think he was a guy and she was a girl.
Oh, I like that.
That's Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
It's a throwback, y'all. Check it out. But anyway, there was some weird tension there. I just crashed because I had nowhere else to go for one night, and it was just weird. Like, it was just odd. So I can imagine if you take that, somebody who just like being in the same room, you have that tension, and then add like verbal threats and other things to that. Like, oh my god, that's out of a novel. Or
He would I would turn off a light switch in the kitchen, like he wouldn't even be in there, and he would start screaming and cursing at me and calling me an effing this and an effing that. Like,
Wow.
I'm like, or you could just say, hey, can you leave that on? That could be the other approach to this whole thing.
Holy shit.
yeah, that's
Wow.
He was insane. He also was a drug addict, so.
okay.
Winning
All right.
combination. Is Airbnb is working out for you a little bit better then?
Yeah, I like Airbnb because everyone comes for like a week or two, and they always act like a guest. They never like get comfortable, so it's like they don't act like they own the place and start screaming at you, and
Yeah.
it's just always like politeness, and it's nice.
Right.
Are you
Plus,
able
it's
to
nice
like
meeting
actually...
people from other countries.
Yeah. I said also I've heard it can actually be a better income source as well than like finding someone in Craigslist. Like you can have a higher rent rate if
Yeah.
you're renting an Airbnb versus
Because it's a
full-time
nightly
person.
rate, so then if you
Right.
have, I mean, in New York it is tricky because, I don't know, you read all these articles like they're battling it, or I don't know. I think it's more people who have a separate apartment that they rent out specifically for Airbnb, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, because I have heard of people like other, location-independent people, digital nomads, that basically support themselves fully just by renting their place on Airbnb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you definitely
And so,
could. I'm just trying to make enough. Like, I just want to make up for the lost income. I love being by
Right.
myself. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
nice.
And the psychotic stories is why I have my own place. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, if for people who don't know that, yes, if you don't live in New York, Airbnb is being battled right now by, landlords because they don't like it. And actually, I didn't know this, but when I moved to my place is rent stabilized.
That's awesome.
It's not rent controlled, right?
Oh,
no.
okay. Then I don't know the difference actually. I know rent controlled.
Yeah, I definitely don't know the difference.
I think rent controlled means you can, like, the people from 1950 still pay like barely over the 1950 rate, and rent stabilized. Awesome. We can correct myself later. I say stuff I don't know all the time.
No, wait, this sounds correct.
But mine is basically the one that's lesser. Basically, they can only raise it if they pass a law that says you can raise a certain percent. Okay. However, you have to follow New York state law, and therefore, when I signed my lease, they said you're not allowed to rent out the apartment or sublease it without consent, and especially that means Airbnb. If you get caught, you are immediately kicked out of your lease. And
But if you left for like a month, and would your landlord let you rent it if you just asked?
Right, I'd have to get permission.
Okay, so at least you have the option. I guess that's okay.
Right, and there's people that definitely don't listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, are they going to catch you?
Right.
Realistically.
Exactly. But Mike, for example, if you wanted to come and get an Airbnb, you can find a great place with great recommendations, and you could stay with our lovely guest, Jesse. And
That's right. Yeah.
And
you won't have to call 911 on me, I promise.
No.
No, actually, that's a good idea.
Only time in my life I've ever called 911, and I felt so weird. I'm like I always thought, okay, 911 is like when someone's in your house, like, with a gun.
Right.
And I'm like, I felt silly. I'm like, okay, wait, I'm getting death threats, but he doesn't actually have a weapon. Like, is this weird that I'm calling them?
Yeah.
And the woman on the phone was asking me, she's like, does he have a weapon? I'm like, no. Like,
oh, yeah.
He has his fists.
She had to ask me all these questions, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, if there's people calling with weapons, like, serve them first, please.
Right.
But that's really that's a wake-up call, though. Like, you're still on that level, but no, he could. I don't know,
I really just wanted it in writing, like, okay, if anything happens to me, this is on file that I called the police on him.
Correct. Got it.
Yeah. There will be no questions about who did this.
Yeah, exactly. But Airbnb in general, Mike, I think you were starting to say something like it's a good idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think
travel.
This is, getting me a good idea because I am coming back to the States, within the month, actually, to visit for the holidays. Before presumably coming back on my travels, but who knows? It's open-ended because I never know what's going to change in my mind when I come around. But, well, I'm hoping in New York, Castle, that you'll put me up.
You have Castle B&B.
Yeah, Castle B&B. But, as I'm traveling about in the States for like a month and a half, though, I haven't used Airbnb myself, but I've only heard good things. So it's a good option for someone like me who's coming back around.
And it's comfortable. It's like living in a house. It's like
relaxing. Like I'm going to Houston for like a few days, like during the week, just because of the way the timing worked out. So, maybe it makes sense to, if I can't find like a decent hostel or something in Houston, which I don't know, it's not probably the same exact situation as like Thailand, for example, finding a hostel or guest house.
Yep.
So Airbnb, while I'm coming back to visit in the States, and probably for other people who are travelers coming back home and stuff, probably a pretty good option.
Yeah. You should see if Hotel Tonight has any cheap.
Hotel Tonight. That's another one. It's similar to Airbnb.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's hotel. It's if you do it, if you could be flexible. If you check it a week or less in advance, they'll give you they'll slash the rates a lot on hotel rooms that haven't been sold yet.
I didn't know that.
Oh, so it's like last minute booking. Oh, that's perfect for me. Yeah, I don't like to plan ever. So.
But it's not in all cities. I don't know if it's in Houston. It's in New York. I don't know. I used it. I did a road trip through Colorado and I used it then.
Oh, cool.
Well, hopefully through some combination of that site and Airbnb and couch surfing and friends, or some combination. Hopefully I'll figure something that works while I'm traversing around the U.S.
I'm sure they have hostels too. New York City's hostels are expensive.
Hostels. Yeah, that's the thing. They're just really. There are hostels in the States, but they're just like, out here in Thailand, I'll pay $5 a night for a hostel. When I go back to the U.S., it's like $50 a night for a hostel. So
my last Airbnb guest, she had been in a hostel and she just was like, she liked it, but she was just needed space. So she came here. She was like, she was paying more for a hostel than she was to have her own bedroom in my apartment.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was like $65 a night or something for a 12-person dorm.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. Airbnb sounds like a good alternative.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? There's a place. I'll mention it. I mean, I don't think they'll have a problem with it. It's called Britpack. It's down in like the Little Italy / Chinatown area, and they have 4 or 5 like dorm like rooms that you can Airbnb out. And they have an improv / comedy stage that they like rent out to local acts during the evening.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can go see a show, and then I think they stop at a certain time, and then
it's called Britpack?
Britpack, yeah.
Huh.
It's a pretty interesting place. I definitely recommend checking out some pictures. It's like a stage with a lounge that people rent out, and then they have 4 or 5 rooms you can rent.
So can we do that, Castle? We can do improv in New York when I come back?
We can absolutely do improv when you come back.
Let's do that.
We will get on a stage together, and maybe we'll try to film it or something.
Yeah. So we can Walking the Earth podcast, improv, live from New York.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would actually be really fun.
WTE
I haven't done improv in a while.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. And then you should come, Jesse.
I will, definitely. I love
come see us
improv.
perform.
Faux shot.
Yeah, I have to get myself warmed up. I have some improv lined up back in Houston, actually. So, I think we have some listeners in Houston. So maybe there are people I already know through improv. But
wait, you do acting too?
I do improv. Yeah, I did it when I was living in Houston right before I started this trip, which has been like the past year or so. I was living in Houston. Yeah, I did improv. I did like a year of improv comedy. So I went through like the run-off courses in Houston. And, it was a lot of fun. And so when I returned back to the States, one of the things I have on my docket is go to Houston, do some improv with my old troupe.
That's really cool.
So sweet.
Yeah.
So
I did
sweet.
it growing up, but not in a long time.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, when I was younger, my parents wanted me to be an actress model.
We should all do improv together.
I'm not. Oh, now I would be so bad. I could try, but I'm like, I haven't done acting since I was like 14.
Oh, I'm sure you'll still got it. It's like riding a bike, right? Kind of.
Except I've grown like so shy on the stage. I like think back to how like outgoing I was as a kid, and I didn't care about any of that stuff. And now I'm like, I'd be so nervous.
Now you write. Now you're behind your keyboard.
Yeah, now it's nice.
Yeah.
I imagine you still have to be outgoing though. If you're traveling around the world, you have to like.
No, I am, but
I'm sure
I
you
feel
have
like
it in you.
Doing improv is like, I guess it's like writing. I'm like, it's your ideas and people are watching them. But I guess that's what writing is anyway.
Yeah, you're doing
same,
improv.
same but different, right?
But I can edit them. I can like read it over before I hit publish. Improv is just like you're throwing it out there on the spot.
That's kind of what I like about it in a way, though.
Yeah.
It's like actually this podcast too. It's like we're improvising this as we go. We didn't we don't have it prepared and whatnot. I kind of like the idea that it's we just go with free flow. And sometimes I definitely have said things on this show that like I listen to it later and I'm like, oh, that was a silly comment to make, But
Me too.
I think it gives you some leeway though, because it's like it's off the cuff. I'm on sue me. I didn't edit this thing. I was bullshitting off the top of my head. So forgive me. And in that sense, I think it's nice because you get a little leeway.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if it's polished and written and edited, it's expected to be like completely perfect. And I like the idea of the raw, rugged kind of thing.
I think
for me.
I think that medium, visual, audio, entertainment mediums in general are going towards improv. One time done, because we're so not entertained by written scripts in comedy and things as much as we used to. Like you go to YouTube, people expect to see somebody doing something stupid and then they laugh at
unexpected,
it.
Right? Like so they don't know what's gonna happen.
Right. If it looks like they stage it, then they're like, all right, it's still humorous, but it's not that funny. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's the way that things are going because you can see anything at any moment. If it's not organic and not authentic, it's just all right. It's been done, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Except for you guys' individual experiences of traveling the earth, like that's pretty wild. So
Yeah. Well, I think there is a lot of improv kind of stuff popping up nowadays. Although there probably is still room around for like all the different mediums of expression and all these things.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know, what's one thing beautiful about the internet is there's like you can find whatever your scene is, which is I think is one thing that's incredible.
Definitely.
It's like you can find whatever type of expression and everything. Like everyone can find their thing out there, and the world becomes a smaller place, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's a very beautiful, nice thing.
Yeah. And JesseOnAJourney.com can help you.
That's right.
Find out things
your
about
place.
the world.
We will ask you actually, Jesse, one more question before we let you go. We did have one prepared question, so this improvised podcast is not full. There's one thing
not
prepared.
fully improvised.
Not fully. Well, for you, it's gonna have to be though.
Yeah, I have no idea what the question is, so yeah.
All right, so it's a pretty easy one. You can just pop as an improv, pop it with the first thing that pops in your head. Give an answer. In your life, there's got to be something you would like to do that you haven't gotten around to just yet, and so, what is any one thing that makes it to that bucket list?
For me, it's funny because we're talking about how I live in Brooklyn. I want to live in a few more places before I like settle down, or potentially I don't know what I really want to do with the rest of my life. Like, I don't know if I want to have kids or anything, but if I did want to do that, I want to live other places. I mean, I would actually want to live other places with my kids too afterwards, but it just depends what the significant other thinks of that.
Gotcha.
So do you see yourself like settling down in like a kind of a quote unquote, I'll say permanent place, or kind of always moving about from different locations?
I think I would always come back to New York just because this is where I'm from and all my friends and family are here. And I mean, when I'm traveling, like when I've gone on trips for, Florida, my longest trip was 8 months. I did miss New York at times just because I don't know, I love it here.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm paying so much money and I could live anywhere in the world and still make the same amount of money because I'm location independent.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, I really would love to live in Central or South America because I've traveled a lot through there and every time I'm like so comfortable and so happy there, and I could definitely live there for a while.
Awesome. That's a spot I have still to. I went to Peru a few years back, but only while I was still working. Was my 2 weeks of vacation I spent to go there.
Where in Peru?
I'd like to. I was in Cusco and went to Machu Picchu, and then I spent some time in Iquitos, and I was doing this. I was actually with a shaman, spending time with ayahuasca, which kind of.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Is that something
I got offered that so many times.
That's a whole
I was
other
afraid
thing.
to do it by myself because I was traveling alone. I'm like, I feel like I don't know if something went wrong and I'm all alone, and then I'm gonna go crazy by myself.
Yeah, it's an experience, and actually, folks who want to hear me give the long-winded answer, there's I forgot which episode number it is, but I'll link to it on the show notes. There's a whole episode where we talked about ayahuasca for 30 minutes or something. But yeah, the short story is, though, it really was life-changing for me. I mean, that was the thing that gave me the kick in the ass I needed. That was like,
really?
Hey, asshole, quit your job, go travel.
Right.
That's what you want to do. You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's one of many revelations, but that's kind of like one of the biggest and most obvious ones for how it affected me.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was. I mean, certainly, I understand your concern though, because it's definitely, it's not something to be taken lightly.
Yeah. Did you see anything scary?
Yeah. Well, the whole half of the experiences were like really beautiful and wonderful, and some of them were really terrifying. But through the terrifying ones, that was where some of the best learnings came from. You would go through like facing all your demons, all this stuff, and then you'd come out and like a phoenix, and. So it's it was nice.
Wow.
Maybe I'll do it again. I would like to go back to South America because I only saw it for like 2 weeks in Peru and spent most of the time there. So I'd like to make a return trip to South America.
I could definitely live in Peru though. I was impressed with how much I like Cusco because I live in a city. When I travel, I try to avoid big cities for long periods of time. But Cusco, not that it's a huge city, but it's a city, and I don't know, I loved it. I actually extended my
I
stay
actually
there.
had the same feel. I really liked Cusco also. This nice, like, I don't know. I actually tend to like places in the mountains, I think. I realized.
Yeah.
As I was like, okay, I liked Cusco. I like here in Chiang Mai. I really liked North India. I really liked Sapa, Vietnam, And I was like, there's a pattern here. I like
Places
Colorado.
with a view. Places
you
with
know?
a view.
Oh, I love Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think maybe the mountains are like my thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I love
So
it when I'm traveling, but then I'm like, I need a big city. I don't know, to live, but at least like for most of my life, I could definitely live a year in the mountains or something like that. But
Yeah, that's kind of what I love about being in Chiang Mai. I got that in between, that perfect in between of like being in a city but also in nature and like it's that halfway
yeah, Chiang Mai
place.
is really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can totally sympathize. I can totally relate to both of you. Like Jesse, since being here, it's you can do anything any given night of the week in New York.
Anything like
And then you go, less than an hour away, you are in the wilderness, and I like that a lot. But I also appreciate the a country, a little neighborhood or a little backcountry road and things like that. And it's
I'm a big bike. I ride my bike everywhere. And one thing, like when I visit other one city I actually would love to live for a while at least is Portland, Oregon.
Oh, I've always heard good things about Portland.
Yeah, it's like a calmer Brooklyn, and like their biking infrastructure is awesome. And like, I mean, I ride my bike a lot, and I've been hit by a car and all that, and it's just so dangerous here.
Oh wow!
Just like certain areas, like West Village is so calm, but then like Lower East Side at some points, it's like I'm really pedaling for my life. Like
wow, I don't know how you do it. Honestly, I've had two bikes that I've been meaning to have somebody else repair or get replaced or something, and I'm kind of hesitant because of that.
Yeah, I mean, you should still do. I've been riding my bike in the city for a year and a half now because I'm from Long Island, but I've only been hit by a car once.
Oh, that's
Is that a good statistic?
That's still
yeah.
a lot.
It sounds like one more time that I want to get hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One is one too many.
But it was funny. I mean, it wasn't funny, but when I got home, I was like freaking out. It was 3 a.m. I woke up my roommate, and she was like, "Oh yeah, when I got hit by a car," and I was like, "Is this normal?" And then I called my boyfriend, and he was like, "Yeah, the time I was hit by a car." I'm like, "Is this just something I need to accept?"
Oh my
that
God.
This is just what
Maybe
life
I shouldn't
is.
come to New York. I don't know.
Well, they both got hit on bikes. Like, I guess that's if you're gonna be a bike commuter.
So don't ride a bike in New
Yeah.
York.
No, you should. Oh wait, I want to promote biking. I feel like I just ruined that
No.
goal.
Just don't go back. Just don't ride on the street. Like go across back and forth Brooklyn Bridge, but like that's about it.
Just keep biking the bridge over and over.
Do that for 3 hours and then turn in your bike.
City bike.
Yeah. There's a lot of means to do it, but a lot of means to get hurt, I guess. So
Yeah, you just have to be, because there aren't very there will be bike lanes on for like 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden they just disappear, and then it's a free for all.
yeah. Well, I think it's something you need to blog about.
I actually have a post coming out. I didn't tell my parents that I got hit by a car, and this was actually probably like 8 months ago at this
You
point.
just did, if they're listening.
Yeah, well now
Hi, Mom and Dad.
I have a post coming out next week about it, so now they'll know.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
cool.
we'll link up to that. They'll probably be up by the time this episode is aired. So yeah,
You can
we'll link up to your story about getting hit by a car.
So that was something nobody knows about me.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really
awesome.
tell anyone actually that I got hit by a car until just now.
Wow, that's amazing.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for feeling
All the
that
secrets live.
You felt comfortable enough to share it with us. And Mike, that makes me feel special, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It gives me a
know?
warm and fuzzy feeling inside.
Oh yay!
Well, you can read about Jesse getting hit by a bike on jesseonajourney.com.
hit
That's
by
right.
a car on a bike.
And then also there's some really great articles. I've just caught a few titles, and some of them are like traveling with people you hate. Something about eating donkey balls I saw.
Yeah.
I saw something about trip advice. There's a lot of different diverse topics. Must-have social apps. You write about everything, and I think everyone should definitely check it out. It's jesseonajourney.com.
Hey.
Yes. And also epicureandculture.com.
Those as well.
For wine, it's just your wine and food connoisseur
a little
site.
more upscale.
Yeah.
A little more sophisticated than the Jesse on a Journey.
Some sophistication for your travels as well. So
not quite luxury, but yeah, a little more. Yeah, not so backpacky.
You got something for every kind of traveler.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, we thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, don't forget to check her out at jesseonajourney.com. And also, don't forget to try your free trial of audible.com at audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. And don't forget, please review us on iTunes and give us a shout out there as well. We will appreciate it. So we'll talk to you next time, but for now, this is Justin Castle in New York City saying good night. Next time on Walking the Earth podcast, Mike and I sit down with Arpit Bansal, who is an Indian traveler that shares his perspectives of being an Indian and going through international borders. Arpit shares a few tales from the road, including an amazing story about his search for Turkana, the desolate oasis in the middle of the African desert. So you don't want to miss it. So check it out at WTEpodcast.com.